Hi guys, I'm here with Dr. Sarah Myers today. Dr. Sarah Myers recently received a grant from the government, so why don't you go into more detail from that?
Sure. It's a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, which sponsors like humanities-based programs. And it's a specific type of grant that's called Dialogues on the Experience of War. And it's meant to create like dialogue conversations with veterans around the country using humanities resources.
Sure, okay, yeah. And then as far as receiving the grant, was there some sort of process behind that? How'd you go about receiving it?
Yes, so it's actually a really long and kind of bureaucratic and intense process applying for the grant. So you apply in the fall. So I applied last fall for this, and basically I wrote a 15-page proposal that kind of explained what I was planning on doing with the program. And then I got people around the country to join as like participants with me, and our whole goal was to create dialogues in different states for female veterans. So the Department of Defense said there's like 5 states that have the highest female veteran populations. And so I basically recruited people in those 5 states and then wrote this grant, submitted it with a bunch of other materials. And then I waited until April. So I submitted in October, and then in April, I got a call from an organizer basically at the National Endowment for the Humanities, and she was like, "Hey, congratulations, you got the grant." And it was really exciting because these grants, they don't fund very many of them. So, like this year, they funded 17% of people who applied for it. And so it was really exciting to get it.
Yeah, it's really fantastic accolade for sure, especially because not only just on a national level, but also I think totally the work that you're going to be doing with it definitely justifies the reason why you should deserve it, of course. So I guess what was your inspiration behind wanting to get involved with female veterans and wanting to like discuss and share their stories? What was your biggest inspiration for that?
Yeah, so I actually, as a historian, I research World War II and specifically female pilots who were veterans of what was called at the time the Army Air Force. And so I was already interested in looking at like women's experiences as veterans and their experiences in the military. And then from there, I attended this summer institute, which I call like nerd camp for historians, where we all got to meet together one summer for a couple weeks, and basically we just like listened to speakers and had discussions with each other about issues that American veterans face when they return home from war. And that was really interesting to me because we had some of our speakers that talked about female veterans specifically. And so that kind of those things together inspired me to want to write one of these grants and apply for it.
Sure, yeah, and I think I do remember in the class talking about like specifically like the different women serving the Air Force. I remember WASP, I think off the top
Yeah,
of my head.
yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
I really appreciate like the different insight than instead of like I guess I was expecting more of like just kind of like the basic curriculum, but I appreciated your insight on like the different areas of like women serving the World War II because you really don't hear much about it. And it's really and yeah, like I said, it's really great to hear I guess more of your perspective and hear like because yeah, you don't really get that in like particular like maybe a textbook per se, and just the general curriculum. So I really appreciated that. Um, so have you begun working on your or have you begun work on like your discussion workshops yet? I think I read something about like that you're planning on having one. I think it was Arlington, Virginia. Did I read
Yeah.
something about that?
Yeah, so they were gonna be mostly this fall, but because of the pandemic, we've decided that it will be better to do them in the spring. And so I'm going to be holding 3 discussion workshops in Arlington at the Women's Memorial. So there's this memorial that's called WIMSA. It's like Women's Memorial like Service Association that's in Arlington, Virginia, like on the grounds of the cemetery actually. So there's like a main veteran center there, and then there's also this women's memorial, and they have networks with women in like the Arlington, Virginia, like DC area. And so since Virginia is one of the states with the highest female veteran population, I thought it would be like the perfect location to lead discussions. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk with the veterans. And the purpose is really to learn from the veterans. So I'm not like teaching them, it's more like I'm walking them through primary sources about women's experiences and more, some of whom are the WASP, like you mentioned, the Women Air Force Service Pilots. And then I'm just creating a space for them to talk about their experiences and kind of like learn from them.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like, and yeah, like you said, it's not just like a matter of like going in and just talking to them. It's like also a matter of like they are the primary source in most, or I guess,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
most cases. So like you're able to kind of like absorb the information from them, and like, so I think that'll be a really fantastic experience all around. Yeah, we talked about the your We Are Veterans 2 program, and we talked about the process behind receiving the grant. So I really think that just about covers this. So thank you again for giving us your time